All right, thank you so much for joining today REDinNYC event live stream here. And we're doing this completely virtual, right? Like most of us have been working over the last 3 months. So let me start by first recognizing REDinNYC, right? So REDinNYC is a very exciting networking group. So it stands for Real Estate Development and Networking Events. And as most of you know, all the events have been put on hold, but they have some exciting events that will be coming back. And we're going to have Vince and Dan also talk about their experience with at REDinNYC in the past and hopefully in the future. But before I do, I would love to go ahead and thank our sponsors that have been kind enough to sponsor these live streams. And that would be CNA, Seneta Construction, Skyline Scaffolding, Champion Elevator, NYREM, REMAX 100, City Bay Capital, Property Shark, Hydrotech Environmental, Eco Safety Consultants, Real Estate Promos, and Clean to Clean. Thank you so much, sponsors. So today's topic is an exciting topic, and we want to know, what is the business like during the pandemic, and what do we believe the future of real estate is going to be? So today I have two exciting guests, and the exciting guest we have with us is Dan Hollander from DHA Capital, and we also have Vince Soriero from Property Shark. I'll let them introduce themselves. This is a very quick webinar. It's only about 30 minutes. We'll be going very quickly, and they'll share their wisdoms with us, and they'll tell us their experience, and hopefully we'll learn from their incredible knowledge. So why don't we start with you, Dan? Go ahead and tell us who you are, and then as soon as you're done, we'll go ahead to Vince.
Great, thanks, Luciane. So I'm Dan Hollander, as Luciane said, managing principal of DHA Capital. We're a real estate development company headquartered here in Manhattan, active principally in the tri-state area, and we've focused on residential development, although not exclusively. We're doing some commercial development as well, and I'll tell you more about what we're doing in a little bit, but pleased to be here.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Luciane. So I'm Vince Soriero from PropertyShark.com. I'm the business development manager, corporate sales lead. I've been with the company for over 8 years. It seems like yesterday when I started. We're the leading data provider for residential and commercial real estate companies and brokers and agents throughout New York City at a national level.
Oh, that's great. And everyone knows Property Shark too, right? So can you guys tell us, what is REDinNYC based on your experience? Dan, why don't we start with you?
Well, I've known Selman for a long time, and I think it filled kind of a need in the real estate industry for a sort of more socially based networking event. So the events happen in the evenings. They're a lot of fun. There's always an interesting speaker. And a lot of interesting people come out, but in a very casual setting, and it's really focused on networking as opposed to listening to a lot of presentations. So it's more about meeting people, and I always meet a variety of people from a variety of parts of the industry at those events.
Got it. How about you, Vince?
Yeah, I can definitely echo what Dan said. I met Selman a few years back. We became like brothers, and he has an interesting concept with these events. He brings together the industry. I really strongly believe that if you're not networking, you're not working, and that FaceTime that you get with meeting people really can expand your business. So Selman from REDinNYC does an incredible job bringing the industry together.
That's true. Well, what I find fascinating is that he keeps the information very concise and short. So there's somebody coming in to teach you about something, but it's only 15 minutes, and they immediately start networking, and everyone knows that you're there to network, but the quality of people that are coming to the event are very high, and we have fun, right? I've met some great people and we're having a good time.
Yeah.
Okay, so since we don't have a lot of time, let's dive in and jump into the very first question, which is, what are some of the business strategies you've implemented that worked and would be very useful to our audience? Since obviously we have real estate agents, investors, we have developers that are going to be watching this. So why don't you share with us, Dan, we'll start with you. You know, what are the, I know you've been getting properties into contract. I know you have a very exciting development that's been designed by Lenny Kravitz. And I would love to know, what have you done and how can we learn from your experience?
Well, I mean, the COVID has been a real monkey wrench, obviously, in the market and trying to show properties. COVID happened right at the time that we were finishing up construction on this building. So we were, inches away from being done, and then we had to stop. We have continued to push out advertising across social media platforms for the most part, so digital advertising, and we've continued to get good traction from that, and it's turned into requests for showings. So we've taken every model apartment we have, and we have 3 of them now, and we've digitized them into a virtual experience. And they're actually quite good today, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to get these done. So we've been able to keep people interested in the property, by these virtual showings. And we have, in some cases, let people just go in and take a look by themselves, since we can't, couldn't until recently legally take them in. So we've managed to keep interest that way, and we have written contracts during COVID. Nothing sight unseen. I can't say people have gone that far, but I think the virtual showings are a real powerful tool that, especially when you've got a building built and then you're sort of virtually staging it and then photographing it. It's been really good, and I think we'll make that part of what we do regularly from now on.
Yeah, so you had mentioned before that before maybe would stage one particular apartment, but now it seems like you're staging a few more units and doing the Metaport. Is that something that you've implemented recently?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the staging really helps sell. These are, physically staged that we got done before COVID, and then we photographed them. But the virtual staging can be really effective as well. Nobody can visualize space without seeing furniture in it. Maybe the pros can do it, but almost nobody else can do it. So it's a great selling tool. And I think, it's definitely going to become, I think, part of the regular experience, the normal experience, because it's just so efficient to be able to, shop an apartment online. I think the buyers are starting to expect that.
Got it. And what software have you been using to create this, virtual experience? Is your team doing video FaceTime showings, or are they just really just creating the Metaport?
Well, we have been doing FaceTime showings, but it's the Metaport that I was thinking of, and I don't know what software they're using. It's proprietary to the company we're using. So.
Okay. That's great. And maybe we'll jump on and Vince, maybe you can share with us, same question, right? So, what have been working, and I know you interact with a lot of agents, and maybe you can tell me, what have you seen that the agents have been using and implementing to succeed during COVID?
Yeah, so fortunately, Property Shark has done incredibly well. We do incredibly well in upward and downward trending markets. You need the data on the down and you need the data on the way up. So we recently launched a new tool called Real Owners Behind LLC Owned Properties and contact phone numbers. So with a click of a button, Property Shark will provide instant access to that information. The LLC data, though, is only New York City centric now, and it's all manual researched. So we have a team of 30 to 40 people that do the manual research. They go through our title docs, our deeds, our mortgages. They pull the information out. They use technology like machine learning, AI, and so forth. So that's really, really a bonus, because trying to find an owner behind an LLC on your own is quite difficult. And we also launched the new comparable sales tool that was inspired by our top residential and commercial appraisers. So the tool helped brokers and agents determine the correct valuation when comping properties. So that's a big help when you're going to a listing appointment. You know, you got to be prepared. You need to have your numbers down to know what the estimated value of that property is. We offer other tools like weekly transfer emails, where Property Shark will send you an email based on a specific neighborhood, based on certain building classes. You'll get email updates on the monthly sales. So it's like we do the work for you. Branded market reports are great. You can customize these reports with your logo, your photo, your name, number, title, things like that. And then they're ready to print. So if you have a printing company that you have like a brochure, it'll provide all the stats on what's sold in the previous month. And our mailing list tool is great because it's label ready. So again, you set your criteria, you can build these lists, you can print out the labels, stick them on your postcards, do your bulk mailing, and it's to prospect homeowners.
Great. What I've noticed is obviously a lot of agents, they have been with their hands tied, right? Not being able to show, especially Manhattan, the co-ops and condominiums had very, very strict rules and they had extra time. So what I'm hearing from you is that the agents have been utilizing some of your tools to now, you know, create that list, put those mailings together, really to set themselves up for success in the future. For me personally, my business, I started as a virtual real estate company a year ago when no one knew what virtual was. As a matter of fact, my business is exploding. Part of it is because a lot of agents didn't know how to conduct business virtually. And I started doing virtual open houses. I think I was one of the first virtual open houses that was hosted. I had 18 people register and 8 people show up. Obviously, there's always a very low turnout compared to the amount of people that show up. But it's been working beautifully. And as other people see that I'm still able to conduct business, and I'm getting a lot of referrals. And it's been working beautifully. And we have now, the technology is available for everyone, for the agents and for anyone to be able to grow their business now, regardless if you can be out showing or not, you know. And that leads me to the next question, because now that things are starting to open up, there's a lot of anxiety, people are nervous, there's a lot of things happening in the real estate industry. So I would love to know, in your opinion, what do you see the future of real estate? What does it look like post-COVID-19? And Dan, we'll start with you.
Sure. I mean, I think, you know, for New York City, I guess this is really what we're talking about. I think the future is pretty bright. You know, it's very hard to see past the doom and gloom right now. I mean, it's a very difficult time we're in, and it's, you know, personally, you know, challenging for so many people, and I think for all of us collectively. But, you know, I would use the analogy of 9/11 and, you know, to think about that time, which was also a very dark time for New York. And I remember people saying no one would ever live downtown again. I mean, ever. It was out of the question. You couldn't imagine it. And what happened was 6 months later, the city created a subsidy program and they gave people $500 a month to live downtown. And guess what? The apartments all filled up. Like right away, they filled up.
$500?
It was $500, which was worth, you know, more than it is today. But you know, so it didn't take a lot, and I think memories really are very short, and so I don't think that this is going to have a serious long-term impact on, you know, central cities. People still want to live in cities. They like the walking experience. They like the energy and the excitement. And that's been a trend that's been going on for a long time. And I think the suburbs are seeing a bump right now because people want to distance themselves from the cities. But I think that will turn around when this is all over. Work from home may be definitely more a part of our daily lives, but it's not going to be a substitute for people coming back to offices, back to central locations, working together as teams and, you know, living together as communities. So I think the future is bright, even though it's a little hard to see through it right now.
Do you predict a specific time frame? How long do you think that things will come back? Because if I remember correctly, what was it, a year before? Was it 2 years when it was 9/11? I've been around for a long time, 18 years, but I don't remember. Do you have any predictions?
I mean, it's a strange event, right? I mean, because it really depends on the medical science. It really depends when we have sort of licked this and can congregate again without a lot of fear. And I think we're in the very early stages of it. Like, as I think about this, I think about 2 years, 3 years to really get back to normal. So there's going to be a long hiatus, on what was formerly normal life. But I still think that when we are able to go back to how things were, that we're largely going to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you for your insights. I really appreciate it. So Vince, what is your opinion? What do you see? You've been in this real estate industry, involved in the real estate industry with Property Shark for a long time, and you've seen a few cycles. So what do you think the future of real estate look like post-COVID-19?
I think there's a lot of pent up demand and energy on the sidelines, and coupled with interest rates being like at record lows, I strongly believe that the market is really going to flourish as we come out of this pandemic.
Okay.
New York City is the heartbeat of the world. So, I mean, it's just transactional.
Yes, I do business in Manhattan and also in the outer boroughs. I definitely see an uptick, like Dan was saying, of a lot of people looking to get out. And, but I do believe, like Dan said, it's only temporary. But at the same time, as a matter of fact, today I have a fully executed contract for someone who's buying sight unseen in Manhattan. So there's still people looking Manhattan. And I have another buyer sitting on the sidelines. And the only reason why she has not bought yet is because a lot of the inventory, like you were saying, Vince, is not yet on the market. So people have not put their apartments back on the market yet. And the demand is definitely there. And I do believe that there's a lot of people still interested. I know that the number of the unemployment rate's at 10%. However, there's still 90% of people with jobs, right? So we can't forget that and be optimistic. Okay, so let me ask you the last question I have. And I really would love for you to really think deeply on this one, because we want people to get value out of this webinar. And what advice would you give to you, in your case, Dan, other developers, and also real estate agents, because there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What do they need to do to be successful in the future, in your opinion?
Well, I think, anyone who's a market participant knows that markets change, circumstances change, and you have to be flexible and adapt to the circumstances. And we've obviously got a very extreme circumstance right now. I think that, so I think that the way properties are being shown is changing. I think everyone has to adapt to that. You mentioned it earlier. Your own business is based on the adoption of new technologies. Certainly Vince's business is all about all of us adapting to new technologies. I started doing this long before there was a Property Shark. And so every piece of data he's got on his site, we had to go pull by hand. And so it's much more efficient now. And if you haven't adapted to that, if you're not, using those tools, then you're definitely behind. You're disadvantaged. So it's about keeping up. And then I think in terms of the market, I think that both buyers and sellers have to be realistic about price right now. I think that, there were already a lot of condos unsold in Manhattan. So there was some price pressure, downward price pressure already. And I think people have to be realistic about that so we can sort of find a floor and then start to go up from there. The demand is clearly there. At least I feel it. You're in the market every day too. I think the demand is there. People just want to feel like they're getting the right price. And I think that there's still a ton of interest in, owning property in Manhattan. So I think people have to recalibrate and try to be, as honest as they can about what the clearing price is in the market today. And it may be, a little bit of tough news for certain sellers to swallow, but I think everyone's going to be better off once we sort of find that clearing price, and then we can start resuming activity again. And I think activity will resume long before sort of COVID is over. I think it's silly to try to wait for the end of COVID. I don't think anybody has to. So once we've sort of gotten a handle on how we're going to manage this, then I think people will start to buy again. And I think being able to show properties is a good sign. Restaurants opening is a good sign. Life starting back up and sort of beginning to get back into the flow of things is important.
Great. So Vince, what is your advice for agents and developers, doing this in certain times to have a successful future in real estate?
I do agree with Dan. I definitely think there's going to be a short-term correction in pricing. But as we rely more and more on data analytics and AI in our everyday lives, it's important that everyone takes the time to learn and utilize this technology and the software that's out there, all these different platforms, Property Shark and so forth. It speeds up company productivity. It helps with your due diligence process, and it will ultimately expand revenues. And I think a lot of us during this pandemic have had the time to sit down and really just get that knowledge base. And if you did that, you're going to see positive results out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my heart goes out to those that have been impacted by COVID, because I know a lot of lives have been lost, and my prayers are with everyone that have been impacted. I do believe that, like Dan was saying, more than ever, people have to adapt technology. And you'll be surprised. I contact agents asking them, can we do a video showing? And they just don't even want to try. And they can just really help their sellers get these properties sold. I was trying to get properties shown for a very serious cash buyer, and I had to jump through hoops, and no one wanted to go there and do a live video, or they couldn't do it, but now they could do it, or even to do a video with their iPhone. They just didn't know how to do it. You'd be surprised. So really taking the time to adapt technology, use a lot of the resources. You really don't have to create in-house. There's off-shelf resources for anyone who wants to have a virtual business. So my recommendation would be live video showings, which is very easy to do with a platform like Zoom. I definitely recommend doing videos for every single property. The sellers deserve to do this, because you have to represent your sellers and having their best interest in mind. And I do recommend using platforms to allow the consumer to feel like they are in the property, like they never experienced before. And that is a combination of video, photo, but also doing Aster Room is a perfect example. I use it. Metaport's another option. Metaport's the most popular because it's been around for a long time, but it's costly. So I found another solution that's inexpensive called Aster Room, and you buy the device and you do your own virtual tours. And it takes 15 minutes to do the virtual tours for the property, and you can literally have that available for the person to feel like they're inside. So there's a lot of resources available out there for the agents to be successful, but it's really up to them to embrace it, right? And be positive. And I think this time more than ever is look at people as human beings. Have you checked with your past clients and your friends and family to check in and see how they're doing? I think even just putting business aside, I think we need to just care about each other during these challenging times and see if everybody's okay. And things will come back. And I do believe that we have a bright future. There's definitely some bumps in the road, like you said. But I do believe that New York City is a very, very, very strong place, and we'll be back, right? We are the Big Apple.
Resilient.
So any final thoughts? We only have about 4 minutes left. Any final thoughts? Is there anything else? Maybe Dan, you can tell us about your project with Lenny. Maybe that would be a great time to maybe talk to us about that. And then Vince, then you can also give your final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a fun project, 75 Kenmare in Nolita, and Kravitz Design is down there in Nolita as well. And they're really like the nicest people to work with, great designers, and they're rock star designers, literally. So that's been a really, really fun experience, you know, meeting Lenny. He doesn't do the day-to-day, but he looks at everything, so the building reflects his tastes, and it's just been really fun. And we've got a little bit left, so send your clients our way.
That's great. It is a very unique building, and it's gorgeous, luxury, and very sexy. And sex sells. Oops. Anyway, it is a beautiful development. I wish you the best of luck with that development. It is gorgeous. Thank you. And Vince, what are your final thoughts?
Well, this is a little bit off topic, but Selman from REDinNYC and myself from Property Shark will be hosting a black tie dinner awards gala. We had to postpone it from March to a future date. So I just want everybody to know, just stay tuned. Selman will be sending updates on social media through email blasts when we can kind of get back into the event season after this pandemic is put to bed.
Well, we all going stir crazy, so we can't wait to start partying.
Yeah, we want to keep you guys in suspense.
That is great. Now, Dan, you had mentioned something also during our call, and this will be final. You are also investing in other regions, right? So I know that you have that building in Nolita, but tell us, you know, if maybe there's something else that we may be able to help you and other interests. So tell us about some of the other things you're working on.
We're building rentals in New Rochelle in Westchester, which is a 30-minute commute via Metro North, and it's sort of half the cost of Manhattan. Rental properties there, and a lot of activity up there. The city's really inventing itself, and we're doing a project in Jersey City as well. Sort of the same idea, is kind of half the cost of Manhattan, but very easy commute. And I think that, you know, one thing we're looking at is the areas close in suburbs where pricing still feels a lot more manageable for a lot of, you know, workers, single or double income households. So we've been focused a lot on that. And I think that though you can feel those areas starting to grow and change and become more sophisticated, the real estate industry is becoming more sophisticated out there. So I think that's an interesting trend that I'm watching and trying to participate in.
Any other exciting areas that you want to, you know, tap into that you haven't yet?
Listen, there's always more areas. It's a big country and there's plenty of places to explore. So, but for now, that's our big leap, is just across the river.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts, Vince?
Just wanted to thank you, Luciane. You do incredible work with interviewing, and we really thank you for hosting this YouTube live stream.
Indeed.
Dan as well.
Thank you. Thank you both. I'm so grateful to both of you. And I look forward to staying in touch. And if any of you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to contact us. And we look forward to hearing from you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you both for your time.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks.
Pleasure.